Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Random Episode. This is the podcast where we watch a random episode of a TV show from a random series that neither of us have watched before. I'm Varin.
And I'm Christie.
And as always, thank you so much, Large Jesus, for that amazing intro song. All right, so this week we are talking about the show Doctor Who, Season 5, Episode 13, called The Big Bang. Now, this one aired July 24th, 2010 on BBC or BBC One, one of the BBCs. And this week we're going to do, an episode summary straight from IMDb. So what happened in this show was that Pandorica opened, silence fell, and now planet Earth is left alone in the universe. Jumping through time, the Doctor must figure out a way to bring back those who never were and save his friends from the collapse of reality. Big summary right there, It's very dramatic.
It's a lot to take in.
And I think it's a pretty good summary. So thank you, IMDb, for that one. So, Chrissy, what did you know about this show before watching it?
So, I have to be upfront about the fact that this genre is not for me. I do not like sci-fi. I do not like fantasy. I hate space. I never want to talk about space. I don't want to think about space. I want nothing to do with space. So because of that, I have never sought out anything about this show. I didn't want to know anything about this show. I'd heard the name Doctor Who, but I think once it became clear that it has something to do with sci-fi, I didn't care to know anything else. So that's kind of it. I've heard of it, but this isn't my vibe. I didn't want to know anything else. What about you?
Well, I'm going to be very interested to see your thoughts on this episode and this show. I have heard of Doctor Who. I've never watched it. I was familiar with the show, something about someone who jumps through time. I knew that there are, we'll talk about this probably in a little bit, about how there are different doctors.
I learned that afterwards. I had no idea.
Yes, there are different doctors. Matt Smith is not the only doctor. And it has changed over the, 20, 30 plus years that the show has been around. There is a new doctor right now.
Yes, that's what I heard. So I hate sci-fi and everything, but as you know, my husband Kel loves everything sci-fi space. So he actually doesn't watch this show, but because he's in that realm of talking to people who love this type of stuff, he knew a fair amount. And so he was like, yeah, don't you know, so-and-so is the current doctor. And I was like, what? I have no context for this, but he was educating me about that concept. And then he said, oh, Benedict Cumberbatch or whatever his name. And I was like, oh yeah, I've heard of that person. I just hadn't ever put it together. Wasn't that one of the Doctor Who's?
I don't believe he was ever one of the Doctor Who's. He was a Sherlock, but I don't think. Oh,
maybe I'm confusing that in my head.
No, but that is that would be a good guess as someone who would be a Doctor Who.
Okay.
They're
all British, right?
They're all British.
Or are they not?
Everyone is British.
Okay.
And up until the last two Doctor Who's, they've all been British white men.
Okay.
Matt Smith is one of the most famous ones.
I did not even know he was one of them until watching this episode, but okay, yep.
And then another one, a famous one, I can't remember the actor's name, should have written it down, but he was also in Harry Potter. He was one of the villains, the one who always did the lick with his...
Barty Crouch Jr.?
Yes.
I'm obsessed with Barty Crouch Jr.
Barty
my
Crouch
gosh,
Jr.
that actor was one of the Who's?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
And there's some other folks that you'd probably see and probably recognize from different things, shows, TV.
Well, maybe, I guess. I don't know. As I said, I've never cared to look into this at all. So anything you could tell me, I'd be like, sure, yeah, that sounds right. That checks out, because I just have no idea. I'm just not into it at all.
Well, I do know that the doctor before our current one was a big deal a few years ago because she was the first female.
Yes, Kel told me about this. Yeah.
Yes, that was a big deal. And I think she did a good job. Apparently, I don't know.
Okay.
Didn't read any bad stuff about it.
Okay.
And this is just not my own research. It's the preliminary stuff I used to read.
Uh-huh.
And then right now, our current one is our first black Doctor Who.
Okay. Well, maybe as we talk about this episode, we can try to figure out how that all works, because the concept of multiple Doctor Who's also makes no sense to me. So I guess we'll have to get into that.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get to that point. So let's get into the episode. First, let's talk about the cast real quick.
Yeah.
We have very few folks that are primary figures in this show. There's the Doctor. There's Amy Pond, who I'm going to assume is his assistant.
Okay.
There's River Song, who love interest
Yeah.
/ also maybe assistant.
Unclear, yeah. Other than the love interest part seemed
Right.
more clear.
There's Rory,
The guy.
the guy who is in love with Amy Pond,
Uh-huh.
but there's a past for him that we'll get into a little bit.
Very extensive past. Long past.
And then those are our only human characters. And then there's Dalek, the
I don't understand Dalek.
British bot who
I don't know what this is.
was there to exterminate, but
I
had a name
can't.
Dalek.
This is another thing. Kel was like, "Oh, like Dalek," and I was like, "What?" So again, he doesn't even watch the show, but he's heard of
He's
that.
heard of-
Yeah, I don't know. I'd never heard of any of this. And is that a person? Is that a character?
I don't know.
Ugh, I thought it was just like
He was a character because he had a
thing.
name,
I
and
guess it was weird. Okay, and then Doctor Who is not a human, right?
oh, I don't know.
Okay, well that's a huge question I have.
I don't know.
Like,
Is he an alien? Is he
I think it is.
a human? I assumed that he was a human.
Can humans like reincarnate themselves as different people and like disappear and come back? I don't know.
I don't know.
This is why I hate sci-fi fan. Like I hate this crap because like I need something that could actually have happened, right? Like something that could be real. There is no element of this show that in any way, shape, or form could be real, and that's what I don't like about it.
So you prefer rooted in reality
Yes.
instead of the sci-fi, which is, well, this happens because this is the way it's written and that's the way it is.
I hate it.
You
But
hate
okay.
it.
It's fine. We'll get into it. It's fine.
All right. So, in our previously on, we learned it was a crazy, recap from the previous episode or episodes. All right. So we learn about, and here's what we're just going to focus, folks, on there's only one storyline. We're just going to go down the storyline and try and explain it and interpret it as best we can. So, our previously on, we learned about something called the
Pandorica.
Pandorica. Sorry, I
Yep.
wrote that down wrong.
Pandorica.
And this is a central part of this
Yes,
episode. And it seems to be a part of the past episodes too.
The Pandorica is this box.
Yes.
Sure.
Something.
A magic box. It's a big box.
Is it related to Pandora's box?
That's what I know. I'm like, well, okay, that's an interesting name. So it's this big box that is big enough for a person to be in.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And it's a big deal that this is being opened, and but there are a lot of villains that show up at this ritual, I guess, for the Pandorica. A lot of robots, and the doctors say that the villains say that the Pandorica is ready for you, and they put the doctor into the Pandorica. And then when that happens, they zoom out from the Earth, and all the stars, all the galaxies in space disappear. And
Sure.
and then we go to 1,894 years later, which is approximately 1996, and we meet a young Amy Pond,
Little girl Amelia,
who is praying to Santa.
Okay, I wrote that down and then I went back and I was like, that can't be accurate. She was praying to Santa? Okay,
So,
sure.
so I guess in this world, Santa is like God, maybe?
Sure.
And people pray to Santa instead of writing letters to Santa?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So she is in this little house and she hears like voices like through this crack in her wall and she's praying to Santa to make them stop,
Yes.
I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, yeah, the whole thing of she looks outside and there's no stars.
Right.
So now we're in this universe with no stars. But
We shouldn't make a big deal, which I honestly didn't notice at first that there were no stars in the sky.
I didn't
Just
either.
because living where we are,
we rarely see the stars.
Exactly. It's not unusual to look outside and not see, a sky full of bright stars. But then, she goes downstairs or the next day, sometime soon, she's done a painting, and the painting is of the moon and stars, and her aunt and maybe aunt's partner. We don't know who the other person is.
I thought it was like a therapist. Like I read this as they think Amelia's crazy because she's imagining this world with stars and like they've brought in a child therapist to be like, this isn't real, honey. Like, let's get back to reality. That's how I read it.
Right. So it seems as if that there was once upon a time stars. So I guess, before, 1,894 years ago, before the Doctor got put in the Pandorica, there were stars. So this is the lore, right? And the history. And so now we're in a time where it's just a myth, a story, about stars. But the fact that she believes in stars and she keeps remembering stars is a problem. Right? That's you're crazy if you believe in stars and see stars.
Yes, it's like a cult thing. Like
Right.
there's star cults to believe in the stars.
Right.
Okay.
Which maybe that's a dig at religion and God, because
Yeah.
2,000 years ago there was God and Jesus, and if you believe in him, then
Okay, I can see that.
there's been no evidence of different deities in the past 2,000 years. So if you believe in it, then it's just a story, it's lore, right? It's not,
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay.
Maybe
sure.
that was something I was interpreting there.
Yeah, sure.
But they are concerned, these two women. But then Amelia sees someone outside her door who's wearing a fez, which will come back later.
Oh, good catch.
Yes. Drop in a flyer. She picks up the flyer. It tells her to go to a museum. So her aunt takes her to the museum, and she finds the Pandorica exhibit. And on the Pandorica is a post-it note saying, "Stick around, Pond." And so she hides away, and her aunt calls out for her, yells for her, and then just leaves.
I guess
at
she's
the
fine
end
with
of the
it.
day.
Yeah, they make some sort of PA announcement looking for her, and then they're like, "Welp,
Oh, that's it.
guess this child is just gonna live in this museum now." Sure.
The aunt's like, "Thank God.
I mean, yeah.
this
I guess.
crazy star believer is out of my life."
I know. I do wonder if this story where she's still a little girl has ever been part of this show before, or if this is just for this episode. Because this is the thing I hate about these time travel shows is this could be at any time in any space. I don't know, it doesn't follow a natural flow of a story. And this backstory of her as a child might not be real in another time context. So it just doesn't flow for there's no natural, this is something that's progressed throughout this series, because it could have just been at any time in any space. I hate it.
I was about to say, for anyone
This to say,
anyone out there who does not who agrees with Christie and hates time travel and time jumping, you will hate this episode.
You will hate it.
Because it was nothing but quick time jumping, and it was very difficult for me. I enjoy this. I enjoy this stuff, but it was very hard for me to catch up and keep with it because there was so much jumping around.
a lot of time jumping. Yeah.
So essentially, our little Amy Pond puts her hand on the Pandorica. Pandorica opens up, and to everyone's shock and surprise, it's not the doctor in there, but I guess her older self.
Yes, it looks like her, but as an adult woman.
Yes.
Okay, this is the first, and then it jumps into the opening sequence. I still at this point did not know this show was about time travel because nothing had really happened yet. And again, I didn't have a lot of context for the show. So as soon as this happened and the opening sequence was a time machine, that's when I finally, this is about
now
time
you got
travel. Yeah. So, and then I was like, buckle up, I'm going to hate this.
And I also was not 100% sure that this was about time travel. I didn't know if this was a space thing, if this is about traveling through space.
I mean, it's
and
kind of
going to
all of the
different
above.
planets. It kind of is, yes.
My nightmare.
But this episode is primarily about time travel.
Yeah.
And then after the opening scene, we then cut back and we see a Roman soldier who we come to find out in the opening credits is Rory. And Rory is talking to our adult Amy, who is laying there dying, talking to her. And I guess the doctor pops up. He's got some magical wrist thing which helps him move around time.
Okay, yeah.
He says some things to Rory. And this Rory right here is a plastic replica of the real Rory.
Is that what it is? Is Rory at any point in time and space a human?
Yes.
But this version is plastic?
Yes.
I don't understand that.
This version of Rory was synthetically created using his DNA, which is why he has memories of Amy and the doctor, but he is a synthetic being. He's not real.
So in this whole episode, is it the plastic Rory?
Up until the very end, yes. And up until after the doctor goes and shoots himself, shoots himself into the
sun
giant
or whatever.
sun star.
Yeah.
No, it's something
or
else.
whatever it
the
is.
Taurus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this whole time, this whole storyline of Rory being in love with Amy and their like love story, he's a plastic figure.
You thought he was human?
I don't know, Varn. I don't understand. I don't understand this show.
I asked that question for two things. Because one, he says he's going to stick around for 2,000 years.
Well, because time travel, I don't know.
Two, he has a gun in his fingers.
Well, okay, yeah, that part, okay, that's confusing.
His fingers pop down and a gun pops out of his hand.
Well, I don't know, maybe he has like a robotic hand or something.
Okay, I get that.
Like,
okay, fair enough.
There's no rules in sci-fi. This is the problem that I have with it. Like, when he says, I'll stick around for 2,000 years, I'm like, I guess that's possible because it's a time travel show. I don't know. So, oh my gosh, this is why I hate it. Okay, so this plastic being is in love with Amy and she's in love with him.
Yes, because when he was alive, they had a past. They were in love. I'm gonna guess this was in previous part of the season or maybe previous seasons. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he loves her. And then the doctor gives him instructions and gives him a screwdriver, a magic screwdriver, which can do anything and everything. Sure. Apparently. Mm-hmm. And tells him all these instructions, which really just confused the crap out of me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I could at least grasp, like, okay, these things are going to matter because as they jump through time, it's going to matter, like, what's in your pocket? What do you have access to? And also, did you catch this, that he drops at this moment that, oh, you're getting married tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so at that moment, he drops, like, okay, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. You're all going to be alive and you're getting married tomorrow. And of course, we're like, what?
But how would he know?
Because he knows everything.
But how would he, given at the end of the episode, how would he know that? Because he put himself into this box. And so how would he know that this would play out? If he couldn't be there.
I don't know. This is why, again, like, there's no chance, in my mind, there's no chance that Doctor is a human because he's clearly like some sort of all-knowing, or he somehow knows a lot of things and jumps time and space all the time to like know what's going to happen. I don't know. But for whatever reason, he already knows that that's going to happen. And he also, the other thing I don't love, I don't know anything about time travel. Also, again, all the rules are just made up. Like, this is all bullshit.
Oh, 100% made up.
But like the fact that somebody is ostensibly dead, but then you could just be like, no, they're not dead because we're going to go back in time and like they're not going to be dead anymore. So you can just constantly not be dead because you're going back in time and making it a different scenario where you're not dead.
Well, that is a very interesting theory out there, right? Like the butterfly effect, right? Like one thing, if you can change one thing, it can impact so many things, right? So the time travel theory is that if you can go back in time, you can save people's lives. Yeah. Right? So they can then live on.
But then isn't the whole thing that you don't want to make a big change because like like if you step on a butterfly, like it'll change everything. So that's like why you shouldn't mess with time travel.
Well, yeah, that's the whole theory, like the actual, responsible theory, morality of that, but time travel's not real, Christy. So.
Well, my only real context for time travel, please tell me you were a fan of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in the 90s?
I was not, no.
Oh my God, did you ever see it?
No.
Varun, is that a joke?
No, it's not a joke.
This is like a classic 90s movie.
No, I know them. I'm familiar with the movie, right? They get into a phone booth and they travel around the world. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but that's it. That's all I know.
It's so much better than this show. But honestly, like, did Doctor Who rip off the idea from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? They got in a phone booth. Like, isn't his time travel machine also a phone booth?
I don't know what it is.
And they went back in history, like in Bill and Ted, they go back to different historical eras. And from what I gather from this episode, they're back in like the Roman Empire. Like, this is very similar to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which I honestly prefer. It's Keanu. It's a great time.
Well, we can't go much further to talk about time travel without talking about Harry Potter and...
Oh. You mean movie book 3?
Book 3.
Okay, yeah.
Where Hermione goes back. So what are your thoughts on that? Time travel happened there and she was able to save Buckbeak?
That's true. I mean, and I don't hate it as much in Harry Potter 3 because it's not like integral to the storyline. I mean, it's important for like Hermione and then ultimately saving. I don't know. I will tell you. They saved
Sirius.
I will tell you, and this isn't even related to this, but now I'm realizing Harry Potter 3 is my least favorite. It always has been.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And now I'm putting it all together. I think this is why. I've always thought Harry Potter 3 was my least favorite movie. It's like my least favorite book. And now I'm realizing it's because of time travel. I hate it.
Oh my God. That's so funny because the movie is my favorite movie.
It's my least favorite, and I think it's because of this. I hate it.
Oh, man.
My life is now being explained. Like, I'm now realizing everything I like or don't like about content is based on, is it about time travel?
Is it about time travel?
Anyway, so yes, I don't like that.
Well, I'm going to go back in time and change that inflection point of when you hated time travel.
I know. Honestly, I
wait
mean,
and see.
the only thing I have enjoyed is Bill and Ted because it's not. I was about to say it's not ridiculous. I mean, the whole point of Bill and Ted it is ridiculous, but it's like so ridiculous that you're not supposed to believe it. I don't know. Nothing I say makes sense. Probably it is what it is.
It is what it is. So what the doctor tells Rory to do is to go and pull him out of Pandorica. So Rory does somehow open the Pandorica, I guess with the screwdriver, magic screwdriver that Futures Doctor Who gave to him. Doctor Who wakes up from inside the Pandorica, is still confused, and then they figure out that to save Amy's life, they're going to put her into the Pandorica because Pandorica stops all time and stasis. So
it somehow
while
brings
she's
her back
dying, yeah, it brings her back to life.
I don't get it.
Because it didn't make much sense to me too, because they said it holds you in stasis, so that means she would be stuck in this dying state because
I don't know.
I guess she was shot by Robot Rory.
I don't know.
And that she needs her own DNA to bring her back. It's so confusing. Anyway,
no.
That's why in 1996, Child Rory opens up the Pandora's box. Child Amy, sorry. What did I say?
Well, and the part about like the box needed to be guarded for 2,000 years, which I'm not really sure why. If like nobody else can open it, why does it need a guard if it's magic? But I guess Rory, not being a human, was able to guard this box for 2,000. I thought this part was kind of romantic. Like he was just this bodyguard, I don't know, dressed as a Roman soldier guarding this box for 2,000 years.
That's funny because I thought it was a kind of lazy storyline because they needed to keep Rory, this central figure. Yeah. I mean, not central, but like a main character around for, how can we explain that he's still there nearly 2,000 years later? And so, he's going to guard the box.
The part of the show I do enjoy is a love story, right? Because even if it's crazy and time machine, like I still can appreciate love. So that was the only thing I liked because it was kind of like their love story that Rory's going to stay with her for 2,000 years. I don't know. I don't know why he had to be dressed as a Roman centurion soldier that entire 2,000 years. I don't know. But then I guess somehow he then ended up as like a pretend museum guard because then isn't that how he showed back up?
Yes.
Or like as a museum worker or something.
Yes.
I don't know.
And so
it's all confusing.
The exposition dumps that they are pretty interesting because, she gets the exposition dump from a museum video about the Centurion and
the history of the Pandorica.
Exactly.
Which I thought was actually kind of interesting.
But I mean, it's they needed a way to explain this to the audience real quick.
Yeah.
And they do it again later, but
that's fine.
But as the drama, of course, 1941 disappeared. Where did he go? And then, sure enough, he's been there the whole time. Just
of course, he loves her. He can't leave her.
Essentially, Ben Stiller from Night at the Museum, just chilling as a night guard.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But apparently, the light from the Pandorica brings back to life. Restorative light is what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Brings back our good old friend, the robot Dalek.
Dalek. I don't know how to say it. I just didn't understand this robot part. So I guess this robot is a recurring, I don't even want to call it a character, thing in this show.
Must be.
Yeah, because again, my husband, who has some reference point for this show, like knew about it.
Right.
So I guess this is a thing.
Yes. Okay. I think because I remember that he was if I remember correctly, in the recap, Dalek and maybe other Daleks, I don't know, were also at the Pandorica ceremony where they stuffed Doctor Who in there. So,
okay.
But I guess he's been dead, gone. Well, I guess also something that we kind of skipped over, which is kind of a storyline through, is that I guess the universe stopped or ended in 106 AD. So when Doctor Who was stuffed in there, which is why the stars are gone. but the Earth is still around because they are the center of the storm, as they say a couple times in this. So things are disappearing. History
Oh, yeah.
is being
History's disappearing.
correct
Because the
yes.
universe is like slowly being dissolved, basically.
Right. So I guess that's why Dalek is not living anymore. But the restorative light brings him back, and he is on vengeance. He wants to kill anyone and everyone.
Yeah. He just goes around saying exterminate. Is that what he keeps saying over and over? Like he's just trying to exterminate everyone and everything.
No, he usually says exterminate,
Oh.
but then he will get into verbal arguments with people
Okay.
in his very, British accent, which was just very funny.
I don't know. This whole next, I don't know, like 10 minutes or so just was so chaotic to me because this is like the quintessential time jumping situation,
Oh my God,
right? Like
yes.
for this like 10 minutes straight, it's like Doctor Who, like jumping and then he's here and then he's dead and then he's alive and then another one shows up like, oh, there's me dead. Here's me alive. And it just feels, it was so hard to follow. I mean, I could tell what was happening. It was just like a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. I mean, the other thing is that child Amy disappears too.
Oh, yeah.
Again, part of the whole history rewriting itself and going away. But I guess let's just fast forward to them being on the roof, right? They're on
Of
the
the
roof
museum.
of the museum.
Yeah.
They look up. What looks like the sun is the TARDIS, which I believe is the blue box that they fly around in.
Like the phone booth?
Yes.
Time machine thing?
Yes.
I think I had heard just like in life references to something called the TARDIS. So I knew that was maybe something from this show.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like I didn't realize it until they started talking about it and then the connection was made like, oh, I think I've heard people say this thing before.
Oh, okay. I've never heard
don't know.
it before.
Yeah.
But the TARDIS is exploding, and which is creating this whole issue. The sun exploding, looking like the sun is exploding, and our character River Song. Did I get that right? Yes, River Song is up there, stuck in a time loop. I guess she's just been stuck in a time loop for 1,800 years.
Yeah. So this whole time she's been in this time loop in the TARDIS.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds awful.
But Doctor Who is able to magically jump in there and save her from the time loop and bring her back down to the roof.
But this
with
is
the
what
other
I
characters.
don't get. Why did it take 2,000 years to do that? I don't
Because
know.
they were waiting for child Amy.
Oh, they had to wait all this time because they needed child Amy to open this up.
Yes. So when
Oh my God.
Doctor Who got stuffed in there was 106 AD, and they needed to wait for child Amy to, I guess, be able to responsibly get lost in a museum.
Sure.
So after such and such stuff where, Dalek shoots Doctor Who, we're like, oh no.
Like we think Doctor Who's
We
dead.
think Doctor Who's dead because we saw him. Oh, we saw him die.
Yeah.
Previously, but then River has a showdown with Dalek where she very finally kills Dalek, and then we find out that this was all part of Doctor Who's plan to save him some time, and he has this whole plan to create a Big Bang 2.
Yes.
So I'm going to try my best here to explain this theory.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Go for it.
So, because of the restorative light of the Pandorica can restore anything back to life, they need to restore the life of the universe.
Okay. Yep. That sounds right.
So, since the TARDIS is exploding, they are going to shoot the Pandorica into the TARDIS explosion,
Yep.
which will then send that restorative light all across the universe.
Like time and space.
Time and space,
Yes.
bringing everything back.
Yes.
Which will also then bring back time and history.
Yes. Well,
Which that part I don't get.
Okay. I hate that I even have any concept of this, but my husband explains to me often about space, right? Like the speed of time and everything is like a different thing through space. So my hunch is
Get
it
that.
has to do with the fact that because it's going to travel at different speeds, it's going to go back into different times because that's how space works. That's all I got for you. That's the extent of my, because I hate this. I hate it. I hate thinking about it. Like, I hate the idea that like space is in a different time than us. I hate it. But that's my best explanation of this.
Okay, I need to talk to your husband about this.
Yes.
Because for me, I don't get how that would make sense if that explosion happened, a million light years away. Right? That would make sense that then it restored here. But we are at the epicenter. This explosion happened right above the Earth. So how does that now fix our history? I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't want to get it.
But it works.
Well, so Doctor Who like launches himself.
How he does that, I have no idea.
Somehow
he can fly this thing.
Flies from inside the museum into like the explosion. And I guess everybody, like Amy's seems kind of devastated because she thinks, oh my gosh, he's sacrificing himself, right? Like, I'm assuming she thinks he's not going to come back from this.
Yes, everyone believes that. Why? I don't know why, but...
Right, he's not human, right? Like, he can clearly come back from anything. Why do we think this is the thing that's going to kill him? It's not.
Yeah, no,
but sure.
I don't know anything about Doctor Who, but I knew that he wasn't going to die.
Yeah,
That's obviously not going to happen. But this is supposed to be, sorry, sad goodbyes. Amy has her goodbye with Doctor Who when he's in the Pandorica.
Yeah.
And then once Doctor Who shoots himself up there and he has his own little walk through memory lane, he has his tearful goodbye with Amy, but that's also selfish reasons because he's embedding himself in her memory.
Yeah, so the thinking that I guess like River maybe explained this to Amy is like, we're just gonna go back to this universe where you don't even know who Doctor Who is, right? Like, when the universe is restored, you'll have a mom and dad again, you'll have a different life, and you won't even know that Doctor Who ever existed. And Rory won't know, right? So this is what Amy, I guess, is fearing, is that Doctor Who will be gone from her existence.
Right.
But that's not what's happening.
That's not what happens. But we do get a little bit of a past of, I guess, our history lesson on, I'm guessing, Doctor Who and Amy's origin.
Yeah.
Because the girl who waited, which I guess refers to how, I guess when Amy was a young girl, she waited outside, I'm guessing maybe for Doctor Who.
Yeah. And they talk about how he was her imaginary friend, but like she knew he was real, but everybody else around her, because, that sounds crazy, was like, oh, this is just your imaginary friend.
But apparently he was a real thing.
Yeah.
And then when Amy joined up with Doctor Who, don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe as a child? Do you think it was as a child, or do you think it was, as an adult, then Doctor Who came along and asked her to join her?
I mean, it definitely seems like they had some sort of relationship when she was a child throughout her childhood. And she seemingly saw him and talked to him and knew him throughout her childhood. I would hope that she didn't abandon her life as a child to go join him as his assistant. But stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I my thought process here is that either she was a distraught child because her parents went missing, I guess because of this crack in the wall, and she joined up with Doctor Who as a child, and he became a father figure to her. Or, as you're saying, he was always there when she was a child as an imaginary friend, but then when she's an adult, imaginary friend pops up again and is like, I need you to come join me.
I have a question about what you just said. Do you think he is like a father figure? Do you think he's a love interest? What is the dynamic of Doctor Who and Amy?
Great question. I don't think it's a love interest. I think River.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Well,
we know that River
Rory,
is River Song is his love interest.
Yeah.
Doctor Who's love interest, and that
Rory and
is
Amy.
Amy's love interest. So yes, I see it as a master apprentice, a father figure maybe.
But she clearly loves him. I mean, it might not be romantic love, but she feels extremely close to him.
Yes.
Which,
absolutely.
I don't know. I didn't like the vibe, especially like flash forward when he shows up on her wedding day. She almost was like more happy about him being at her wedding than her husband being at their wedding. I just felt like the amount of love she has for Doctor Who felt imbalanced, like too much. More than how much she loves her family and her husband.
But I like that, though. I actually like that. I like that deep love, this relationship that these two have. You know, on her wedding day, we can talk a little bit about the memory aspects of after this whole Big Bang too. But she remembers that she didn't have a mom and dad. She remembers that part, but she can't remember the doctor. But there's like an itch there, I guess.
Right. So when she wakes up the morning after this Big Bang 2, she's kind of acting strange, right? Her parents are like, hey, it's your wedding day. Rory's on the phone like, hey, it's our wedding day. And she's just like, is there something I don't know? You know, she can feel that something is off. So she remembers that she can't remember something and that it's eventually Doctor Who.
Right.
Which I didn't hate that.
No, I liked it. And then, so after the Big Bang, she, right as you said, it's her wedding day. She has a lovely British wedding, and she has a problem of trying to remember who the doctor is, but she remembers the doctor, and ta-da, because the whole trip down memory lane that Doctor Who did, embedding himself in her memory, she remembered, which then brought him back to this side of the crack. Or
well,
the
then what was the thing with, she was like, somebody left her this blank book. So I think River somehow was at the wedding, secretly. Like River secretly dropped off this blank book and she starts crying and freaking out. Like it's like this blank book triggered the memory maybe.
So did River remember the doctor?
What is River, right? Is River a human? I genuinely don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Because then, somehow River also knows to be at the wedding and drop off this blank book. I don't know. Honestly, out of all of them, Rory's the one who at the time of the wedding seems to have no memory of any of this.
Correct.
Other than he knows he loves Amelia or Amy and he wants to marry her.
Correct.
So that's great. But I don't know. And then Amy's whole at her wedding, her dad's making the speech and she just is like, no, I need to say something. My imaginary friend is real.
Yeah.
I need him here. I found you. You're here. And then I guess this is so weird. He just shows up at our wedding. I don't know.
And he shows up already in a tux, ready to go. But it's cute because then, he's there for the whole wedding. He breaks it down, does some dancing with the kids.
Is nobody asking them questions?
No.
This box appears and this man in a tux comes out and she's clearly loves him. And are the parents trying to figure out what's going on?
No one's concerned
Nobody seems
whatsoever about this man popping out of a box that magically appeared out of nowhere.
And at what point does Rory's memory come back? Or is Amy just like, okay, Rory, let me fill you in. Here's what you've been doing for the last 2,000 years, right? Because by the end, Rory seems to be back with them all.
Right. I think as soon as Amy brought up the doctor, Rory then remembered the doctor.
Okay. So that helped Rory's memory come back.
Exactly.
Okay, that checks out, I guess.
In the sci-fi realm of possibilities.
I don't know. This is the part where just watching Amy watch him, I don't know. To me, the love didn't feel comfortable. Literally she's watching Doctor Who with all of this love in her eyes, and then she's with her new husband, Rory, and she's like, okay. I don't know. Poor Rory. I just feel like she cares more. If she had to save somebody, she would choose Doctor Who over her husband, Rory. I think.
Oh, that's a great question.
I think she prefers and needs Doctor Who in her life more than her husband, Rory.
Interesting. I would probably agree with that. Yeah.
If she had to save one.
If she had to save one, if she put in that situation, I wonder if she was put in that situation in this show. That would be great storyline.
Okay.
I would imagine she would save the doctor.
I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, and then there's also this weird scene at the end with River and Doctor Who.
Yes.
I don't know their relationship.
They're apparently love interest because he asks, "Are you married?" But then it was really weird because then she asks, "Are you asking me to marry you?" No.
It was weird.
He asked her, "Are you just married?"
But is he asking her because possibly something now changed in this new universe?
Yes, I think that's the real question. I think that he's curious if that if
in this new universe,
yeah,
like has she gotten married?
Which would make sense if
but
I guess if she were to believe that Doctor Who, or I guess again,
I don't know.
If she remembered Doctor Who, but knew that Doctor Who wasn't coming back, then why wouldn't she get married?
Yeah. I don't know. I just, again, it's a big question of who remembers what and to what extent people are humans. I don't know. I still have a lot of questions about that.
Doctor Who knows.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, so to wrap up the episode, Doctor's got to go to work. He hops into the TARDIS, and we see a good view of what the inside of the TARDIS looks like for the first time. And we see this, all these mechanics and levers and all this kind of stuff in a telephone. Because then the Doctor gets a call from the Queen, I guess. So the Queen knows about the Doctor Who, because he says Her Majesty.
But we don't know the Queen of what.
Oh, true, I guess.
So this is the thing. Is somebody calling him from current time, or was this potentially a queen in some other point in history?
Well, whichever queen this is, she's calling about, apparently, an Egyptian goddess on the Orient Express.
So that's what makes me think it's like somebody in history, right?
Well, an Egyptian goddess on because the Orient Express was a train.
Yeah.
So the issue apparently is, which I'm guessing that the Doctor is going back through time to fix, are maybe people not being where they're supposed to be.
Oh. Sure.
I'm going to guess that is the whole theme of this show, is that someone is messing with time, and they are jumping around to different places in time that they're not supposed to be. And the Doctor's there to fix the problem.
Oh, that makes sense to me. That was my biggest question kind of at the end, was like, is every episode about like something as big as the universe is being destroyed, or was that just this episode? So maybe it's usually smaller time related incidents, right?
That'd be my guess. That, or I'm curious if each season is one big storyline.
Oh, because this was a season finale.
This was the season finale. So
Okay.
I'm wondering if everything is, one major storyline with little incidents along the way where they're trying to solve this one big issue. Or, as you may have asked, is each episode a different opportunity to solve a issue a little in time?
Well, yeah, because I guess that does set it up. If this is the season finale, then maybe next season is going to be all about fixing this issue that this queen has called about. And maybe that's like the premise for the whole next season.
I'm going to assume that there is a new issue in the next season. I don't think it's going to be about this Egyptian goddess in the Orient Express. I think that's just like a fun little thing to throw in.
I mean, I have no
the Queen is
idea.
calling about.
Like literally anything is possible when you have a universe where you can jump time and space and there's no rules and you can do whatever you want.
And that's fun.
No.
I love it.
Well, I guess it's
so good.
I guess Amy and Rory think it's fun because they're going with. Like they're in on this. So even though, in theory, they've woken up in this new universe where they could just go on with their lives, and like Amy has parents and she could just be living this lovely, happy life, she's going back with Doctor Who.
Well, in her defense, this is her career. This is her job.
Is it? No, what is this job?
This is what she's been doing for I don't know how long, but this is what she does. It's her job.
This
She didn't abandon her job just because she got married and now she got parents back.
I need you to answer this. This presents a whole new question. Is she getting paid for this?
Oh, good question. No.
You called it a job. Is this her career? Does she have a job? How does she support herself?
It is a volunteer job to save the universe.
Like, what does she do? What's her 9 to 5?
I think this is her 9 to 5.
But how is she supporting? You need money.
Oh, I don't think.
Right?
I don't know. This is sci-fi, Christy. Okay? You don't need money in sci-fi.
This is why I hate this. Fine. Okay. So they're moving on to the next crisis, and they're going to continue to save the universe and planet and space and time.
Yep.
Fine.
That's it.
Okay.
Right there.
And is the Pandorica now not going to be in it, right? Was that just this? Because the TARDIS is always in the show, I presume. Yes. But the Pandorica seems like it was just for this storyline.
I agree. I think so.
Okay, so the TARDIS will probably continue. I don't know where he got the TARDIS from. How was it built? What time and space was that what did that come from? Where's that origin story of the TARDIS? I don't know.
Well, I think he said he borrowed it. So,
Okay, sure.
but he
From
borrowed it
from
somewhere.
who? From when? From where?
Great
These are the
question.
questions that I have. And so clearly this show, I mean, doesn't the show go on many, many seasons?
Oh, yes.
And like many different iterations and all of that?
Yes.
And then at what point does the actor Doctor Who swap, Is that season to season?
I am curious to know how they do that transition,
Mm-hmm.
that swap from different Doctor Who's.
And
Is it like James Bond, where it just, you don't even ask a question, it's just new James Bond?
Or is it one day Amy's like, wait, why do you look different? Right? Like, is Amy in this whole series? Do you know that?
I don't think so, no.
So is it a whole new cast of characters each time Doctor Who swaps?
That's going to be my guess, yes.
I don't know. And also, I'm asking a lot of questions. I don't even want to know the answers. I don't care. I'm not going to keep watching. I really don't even want to know. So I'm just going to stop asking.
Fair enough. That's the last question right
Yeah,
there.
there we go.
So then my next question then is acting quality. So on a rating system from A being the best acting out there to F being just terrible, terrible acting, how would you rate the acting, Christy?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to look at the acting.
Yeah. And I will give you this. Matt Smith is great. I think, I mean, I loved him in The Crown. I have been watching House of the Dragon, even though this is because of my husband's
fantasy.
Yeah, I would not choose to watch.
How dare you?
I would not choose to watch House of the Dragon on my own, but I love my husband and marriage is about compromise. So we watch it together. But he's great, right? Like, I think he's a fantastic actor, and I think he clearly is really, really strong in this show. And I think the others were pretty strong in this show too. I don't know. I might even go like AA minus. Like, he's just really good.
Wow.
Even though it's not my style, he's great.
Okay.
In my opinion.
That's very high. I was not expecting that.
Well, acting is different than
Sure.
genre.
I'm glad you could separate the two.
I don't know. What about you? What do you think?
I gave it a B+.
Yeah. No, it's high, right? Like, it's good acting.
I actually really liked Amy was my favorite.
Yeah, she was good as well.
Actor.
Yeah.
I think she did some really, really good acting.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion, better than Matt Smith. But Matt Smith, again, was really good.
Yeah, he's really good. I mean, the characters, like, they really make the characters come alive. I think they do a good job acting.
Right. I think probably the issue with the show is more the writing and the cutting and the editing, everything else about the show. But the acting was
Which,
great.
and I will give it to, like, some people like this type of show, right? So just because this is not my personal style, like, a lot of people clearly like Doctor Who. This is a very famous show. People watch it season after season. So for some people, that style of like jumping back in time, back and forth, some people love that. And I think if you love that, then this probably is done really well in your opinion. I just don't like it. So that's all I'll say about that.
Fair enough. All right, so let's move on then to the rock rating. Again, this is the representation of color, where we judge the POCs that appear in this episode, and I could not count a single one.
I don't think I saw anybody.
I didn't see anyone. I don't even think I saw anyone. Oh, wait, no. The therapist.
Oh.
Or maybe Hans.
Oh,
partner.
yeah, whatever, the adult with child Amy at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah,
She
okay.
was a person of color. So we had one.
So what's the score?
Oh, so I have to change my score because I had it at a 0 out of 10 because there wasn't anybody. So I'm going to have to bump this up to maybe a 2 out of 10.
Okay.
Because there was someone there who did have a speaking part, but it was very short, very small. So I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, otherwise, very white show.
Very white show.
But again, that's this season, as you explained earlier, the Doctor Who's are going to switch out eventually. So wait, how long does it take to get a Doctor Who of color? Is it like this season?
I think
2024?
2022 or 2023
Okay. So
is when. I think 2023 is when it happened.
Okay.
And it took until 2020, 2021 for it to be a woman.
Okay.
So
Well, there we go.
there you go. Finally, Christy. I think I already know the answer.
Well, you know my answer about if I like the show, but did you like the show?
I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. It was very interesting. I thought it was like a mini movie. This one season
agree with
finale
that.
episode, right? Like a lot happened.
I
I
agree.
kind of wish it was a movie. I kind of wish it was more drawn out so they could, not be so, cut takes and everything like this. But no, I didn't mind it. And I am curious to, I'm not going to go back and watch this whole show, but I would be curious to go watch an episode of where there's a new doctor. So it's like a season premiere with a new doctor to see how they explained
Yeah.
the transition.
Well, I'll let you do that, and then you can just fill me in. Let me know how it goes. I will not be watching that myself.
Okay, fair enough. Will do. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening. Remember to follow us on Spotify or wherever you're listening. And if you like what you hear, please rate us 5 stars. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Random Episode Pod. Finally, and most importantly, come back next week for our next random episode.
Bye.